Welcome my friends, my name is Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining me here today in the Vectorize channel. Today I want to bring a very important topic about which one is best, Procreate or Affinity Designer. I want to tell you exactly the difference between them and why I use Affinity Designer compared to Procreate. Let me tell you why. The first difference that you will see is that you cannot use Procreate on your computer. You cannot use it on Windows or Mac. Another side, Affinity Designer can do that. You can use in your computer and iPad Pro. So this is the biggest points that you can consider already. But to see this side by side, I have here the Affinity Designer screen, the home screen, and the home screen of Procreate. There's not a lot of difference on here, okay? But of course, when you start to create a project, let's see here, I'll create a new project. I have my screen using Procreate. So the main difference is that on Procreate, you use raster. What is raster, John? Raster is when you draw with pixels, everything that is related with bitmaps, where you can erase just like that, okay? On the other hand, if we open here Affinity Designer, we're gonna create a new document, same standard document, click here, okay. We're gonna get a screen like that. And of course, you can draw with pencils in vector. On the other hand, you can do this as well in raster, which means that you can do raster and vector at the same app. Okay, this is raster and this is vector. This is the biggest difference, right? So getting back here to Procreate, you know that the interface here is very clean. It is very simple, and it is absolutely very fast. What I mean about this, you can rotate this without having any kind of lag or delay. It's just perfect, okay? The drawing experience that you can have with iPads drawing on here, compared to, let's say, Photoshop, this is so far more fluid and the flow, it's just perfect. And if you ask me, okay, John, but what's about the difference between Affinity Designer? To tell you about the difference, we need to see the panels here that we have. On our Procreate, we have here the layers panels, we have the options about smudge, erase, and brushes panels, okay? Let's start here with the brushes, okay? Using Procreate, you have a very advanced brush settings, and basically you can create your brushes and edit here while you do, you know, the brush settings. You can change. There is a huge modifications and settings that you can use. Compare these settings to Affinity Designer. Here I'm going to this raster, and I will go here to change these settings, click here more, and then you can have these settings. Compared to Procreate, Procreate really wins about this point. Yeah, my friend, it's not because I use Affinity Designer that I will give all the credits to Affinity Designer, all right? I tell you what's best and what's not best in each situation, okay? I'm 100% honest here with you. So that's the point. Affinity delivers you these settings over here, all right? And getting back to the Procreate, another difference is that you have the layers. The layers on Procreate, it's quite simple. I really like it, but when I started to use this, I found it very difficult. And there's one point that I want to bring here about Procreate when I started to learn. On the layers panels, as you guys can see, I got these panels in this project that I did just for fun, just for, you know, paintings and fun. And I struggle a lot when I started to learn, because there are a lot of features that it's hidden. Let's say you need to, if you want to apply the clippy mask, you need to just click here and apply clippy mask, but it's applied just like Photoshop. On the other hand, I need to tell you, on Affinity Designer, this kind of feature, it is so far easier to apply. All right, if I open here this project, I can easily apply the clippy mask just by drawing inside of the shape. For example, here I got this circle, right? I can easily draw a new shape here, and the clip is gonna be automatically applied. And I really enjoy this functionality that Affinity applies. Compare this to Procreate, I feel that it is very difficult to manage, to handle with this sort of project. Let's say here I have, let me hide here these layers, alright, so you can see I have this shape, and then I decided to paint inside of this shape here, right, to not, let's say, getting outside of the layers. So I'm just enabling here. Oh, look, I got this result. So one point that I really enjoy to use more Affinity Designer is that it's so far easier to apply the clipping mask. Okay, so here we go. I'm just painting here inside without worrying so much over these areas outside the white zone. Okay, all right, so this is the first point that I wanted to bring here, is that I feel like Affinity is very easy to use layers. Another point, let's say I want to use the blend modes. What is blend mode, John? Let me tell you. It is when you just select the layer and click here on top, and then you can apply these blend modes. Basically, darken, multiply. This is the very common one that you can use on Photoshop. Also, you can do that on Procreate easily, right? You can just click here, click in this button, and then you can apply over here, right? You have a bunch of them to apply. Can you see? I'm just applying here in this layer. At the beginning, I faced a lot of problem about this because it was very difficult to manage. Let's say I want to change this at ons. You know, I found this, oh my gosh, I need to change this one by one. It was sort of difficult for me. Comparing this to Affinity Designer, you have the ability to basically, you know, select this. Let's say, okay, I want to select all of them and then apply everything at ons easily, just like that. Bear with me if I don't know how to do that with Procreate, but there are a lot of limitations here when you need to manage big projects with Procreate. Another point that I wanted to raise here is that if you are using, let's say, Affinity Designer, you can handle with big projects. Let's say big projects like this one. I have a lot of photos here that I do my thumbnails, alright? So basically, if you want to do that using Procreate, you cannot do that. Of course, Procreate has a different purpose, alright? It's more for paintings, drawings, and Affinity is more for graphic design uses. But let's say that if you want to do everything in just one software, Affinity will give you all the tools that you need. Of course, I need to give the credit to Procreate because they do very well with innovations over here. And I need to tell you this innovation that they always do. Basically, it is the way that you can, let me show you right now, you can create face paint where you can just, let me paint here my face. I can draw here and draw on my face, basically. Can you see? There are a lot of nice features. I'm drawing something here in my head. There are lots of nice functionalities that you can explore and play with Procreate. At this point, Procreate gives all the credit for the innovation. You also can paint in 3D. All right. I don't have any 3D here to paint to show you, but definitely is a great software that is getting a lot of innovations. Another point that I really enjoy about Procreate, it is that you can use the animation assist. This tool here, it is very nice. I've just enabled here the animation assist, all right, enabled here, and then I will start to draw some animations. So each time when you click here add a frame, you need to consider that it's gonna animate on each layer. So right now I'm just creating this animation just to make some tests here, boom, and then I will play. Look how nice it is. Okay, this is a very nice feature, but we don't have this sort of feature on the Affinity Designer. Each layer that you draw, it's gonna be counted over here, and also you need to consider that on your canvas over here you will have the layers, all right, layer settings. You're gonna have the maximum layers. This will depend. The maximum layer is the amount of layers that you can create using Procreate. It's gonna rely about the settings that you're gonna use in your canvas size. Okay, if it's bigger, less amount of layers. But remember that each time when you create animation, like for example here I've added 15 layers, okay, and I just have now 168 layers available. So if you work with big projects or big animations, perhaps Procreate will not allow you to handle with that in a good way. So back on here on Affinity Designer, you cannot do this sort of animation, okay? There is no frame by frame animation, but you can handle with a lot layers. All right, let me open here this project. It can be this one by itself. Here I do have many layers and sub layers, which is very big, okay? And you cannot do that using Procreate. So another point that I want to raise here, one of the biggest reasons as well, is because I have the editable layers with layer effects and adjustments. It is saved in the Affinity memory. What I mean about that? For example, let's say, okay, John, I want to use the Gaussian blur. All right, so let's apply here Gaussian blur in this shape. So I can use here Gaussian blur, and there you go, it's here, good. On the other hand, if you try to do that with Procreate, you're gonna basically lose, you know, let me apply here Gaussian blur, the ability to change this layer. So if I accept, okay, I want to keep this, I will apply, there you go. You cannot, let's say, I want to back this somehow. You need to back by undo, right? On the other hand, with Affinity Designer, you can turn off this at any time, which means that this will become an undestructible element. You can turn off this at any time without destroying this element. This is the very reasonable point about what I love Affinity. And also, if you want to use adjustments, feel free to use, because the adjustments is going to be applied and then you can change at any time over here below. Compared to Procreate, if you apply, let's say I want to apply here the hue, okay, I'm gonna apply hue adjustments. You basically, I'm changing, and then if you apply, right, you will lose the ability to change this, let's say later. You know, it's gonna be difficult to change that and undo if you want to change. So again, I will show you here. For example, I will create this line, and if you want to change this line here, the color, you need to erase just like that, and then remake again. Okay, so here I'm doing in another layers, just show you that if you want to change this color, you can do this by here in hue, just like this, or painting here inside using alpha lock, just like that, and paint here inside using Affinity Designer. In that case, you can basically, let's say I will use here pencil tool, okay, and then I did this line, and then I can change this color easily. Other point that it is very important that I wanted to raise here, it is that it's so far easier to use gradients here on Affinity Designer, because you know, you can just apply here a gradient just like that. If you try to find a way to do this using Procreate, you're gonna have a lot of problem, because it's not made to do this kind of work. You need to basically paint here with applying the Gaussian blur. You know, you need to draw with the Gaussian blur. And let me deactivate here the alpha lock. Now it's gonna work. And then you need to blend with other colors just like that. So it is so far difficult to handle with gradients on Procreate. You can find tutorials that show you how to do that, and it is a huge big deal, right? Just like that. This is the way that usually some of them teach you how to apply gradients, is by using creating some shapes, flat shapes, and then apply the Gaussian blur. Of course, there are other ways to do that, just by using a pencil, very soft pencil, you know, and then in a very soft way, and apply then the smooth and etc. there is this situation, right, that you can apply. But like I said, guys, I'm not here to judge Procreate and say that it is crap or you should not use. No, this is not the point here. I'm just showing you the difference, that the possibilities that you can do with Affinity compared to Procreate in these situations here. Another point, it is about the art text tool. Okay, you can do that. You can apply text here, of course, on Procreate as well. I'm using here Affinity Designer, using text, and of course Procreate as well. You can add, all right, text as well. You can just add here. Here is a text. But like I said, if you apply, it's here, right? You can edit at any time, which is good. Remember that the quality here, you need to make sure to make it in a big size, do not lose, you know, the quality. So there are settings as well that you can explore if you want. Let me go here, add text. You can click here and then change. There's a bunch of settings over here, right? For me, it sounds very confused. You know, it takes a lot of space here. I don't feel comfortable, to be honest. It's not because I use Affinity, but I feel like it's sort of difficult, because comparing this interface with Affinity Designer, all right, I got here this interface, very simple, all right, just here, and then I can change the text as I want. I have here the text position, typography, and other things, which is, you know, very more optimized. But like I said, it's just my preference. And now let's say that you want to use grid, the grid system, such as perspective, some guidelines. Let me show you how it works. So first of all, here on Affinity Designer, you can enable this by click here on top, and you're gonna have this option grid. This grid, you can enable here, the show grid, and you have some options that you can enable right here, okay, such as change the size of this grid, the divisions, the color, etc. Okay, it's a simple functionality that you got here on iPad. And also you can consider that once you enable as isometric, you will enable this option here that most users don't know that this exists, unless if you enable the grid and enable the isometric grid. So to enable this feature, of course, you need to click here, enable planes, and then I'll click here, edit in plane. Okay. Now, if I draw a square right here, look, I'm just drawing. Let me do that. It's enabled to draw on top plane. I will now draw in side plane. Then here, good. Then in the front plane. There we go. And then on top plane again, just like that. Okay, it's not a perfect cube, but hope that you guys got the idea. So you can adjust here and snap. Make sure to click here to snap. So it is a very useful tool that you can use with grid system, all right? But there is a point that I don't like here on Affinity, is that you don't have the perspective grid system. So if we open Procreate, we got this edit drawing guide where you can use the perspective, this one, all right, and then you can create some points on the screen just to add and create this grid system, let's say, to have a better view about how this will look like when you use the perspective. It's very great. On Affinity, you cannot do such as grid system. Here on Procreate, it is very advanced, and we really appreciate this resource. Can you see? I can change, and then you can basically draw following this grid system. And also you can create other points, and it is very, very nice. Okay, I will delete this point. I can click here to delete. And it is very recommended if you are creating storyboards, concept arts, things like that, landscape paintings. It is such great, let's say, resource that you can use. So you saw me here using the grid system on Affinity, comparing to Procreate, the difference between them. Also, you have the Liquify here on Procreate. Okay, if you go back here, I can use, let me open this image, and then you can see that you can use the Liquify easily, right? You have a lot of options choose the Liquify here. Affinity Designer doesn't follow with this feature. However, Affinity Photo, you can do that, the Liquify option, because let's say it's a more photo resource. Okay, so I'm changing here on Procreate right now, and Affinity Designer, you cannot do that. You need to use Affinity Photo. Another point is that with the selection tool here on Procreate, I feel like it is more precise. You know, when you, let me open here another project. When you use the selection tool here with Procreate, let's say I will hit here automatic, selecting here this area, I can simply, can you see here this area? I'm just changing. There is more precision here, right? Okay, compare this feature here. Let me try to paint now. You can drag and boom, can you see? It is more fast and fluid to do this using Procreate. This is a very useful resource, all right? And compare this feature here on Affinity Designer. The way that I tried to use this feature here, let me just disable here the grid system, but using the raster persona, right? You can use the fluid selection tool. I feel like it is not, doesn't work so well. Okay, I will be honest with you. Let me raster this, okay, because this works when you are using raster. Okay, I have this, and then I can click. Can you see? Even if you use, you feel like it's not so, you know, it's difficult to achieve a nice result. Even if you change here, the tolerance is not gonna change. You need to click and see if it's gonna change. So I feel like it's more difficult to handle with this selection tool using Affinity Designer. Let's say, okay, I want to change just this red color. Let's say I'm just trying here. I will turn off the continuous. Let's see. The tolerance is gonna grab the colors that is nearby. Let's say I wanna just select the red here, but if I click here, it's gonna select this area. I will increase, but you can see that there's not a lot of precision compared to here. Okay, of course, you may consider, all right, John, but you are not selecting an area that has you know, gradients. Let's try to do that in this yellow area. I will click and then I will tap here. Oh, look, all right, I got this result, and then I can simply increase here the precision, which is very nice. All right, look, and then I will change this color. Let's try to change, and look, can you see? I'll change to green. Let's try. There you go. So far, I feel more precise compared to Affinity Designer. Okay, it works very great. So these are my points, all right, about both softwares. You guys saw me using this, but the last resource is gonna be about the export persona. Okay, let's talk about export persona. Here on Affinity Designer, you have these options to create these slices, and then you can select in which format you want to export each element. You can export, let's say, I want to export this in PNG, I want to export this in JPEG or PSD. You are, you know, 100% free to set up these settings here on the export persona. On the other hand, on Procreate, you cannot do this very easily, all right? If you are working with big projects, you cannot do that. But like I said, I think that is not the purpose of Procreate, to use, you know, multiple objects and big project at the same canvas. All right, let's say I want to export these guys here separately, all right? So to do that, you will need to go here in share, and then you can share the layers in PNG or, you know, animated GIF. There is these options that you can export the layers separately, or you can export in PSD if you want to work on later on the computer. No worries, you can do that. You have these options, but like I said, it is sort of limited, right? It's a bit limited. And if you use Affinity Designer, you have more options and more ability to change this and edit in a better way as possible. And alright, before I forget, you can join on the Vectorize Club if you want to learn much more about how you can use Affinity Designer. We have a lot of lessons, challenges, mini courses. You can have all the access here on the Vectorize Club. Alright, I will leave the link here on the description below. Alright, so I want to make a conclusion here. If you want to have a a precise answer why I'm using Affinity Designer. As you guys saw on here, I like to use Procreate more for hobby, more for study, more for paintings, okay? But if I go just for work, all right, I would rather to use Affinity Designer because I don't have these limitations about layers. All right, I can send these projects to my desktop seamlessly. All right, it's very smooth and fast. But like I showed you here, Procreate is just awesome. All right, you can have these both softwares because they are cheap, and you can just pay one time and it's yours. All right. You don't need to pay subscriptions like Adobe does. That case, we have this answer for you. You can use both softwares. So feel comfortable to use in the way that you like most. All right. This is how I would use, and I hope that this helped you a lot in, let's say, in your decision. If you are wondering which one you should use which one that you feel comfortable. Right. You don't need to, let's say, be overwhelmed about these both software. They are just incredible. All right, so there are different purposes. One is more for paintings and another is more for graphic arts. That's it, my friend. I hope that you really enjoyed this lesson, or let's say this discussion, and thank you. Comment here if you like it. Comment here if you have other suggestions. Okay, subscribe and see you next time. Bye bye.